This has to be a bug, honestly. It does so much damage. They're gonna hit us with that soon.
You think so?
You don't feel like maybe there's a bit of chunking happening because it's 5 projectiles hitting at once?
Oh. Yeah, totally.
The new exotic auto rifle, Choir of One, might just be the best weapon in Destiny 2 right now. And honestly, it's not even close. Maybe it's just rose-tinted glasses talking, but when you have a weapon that one-phases dungeon bosses with only 2 fire team members, melts Grandmaster Nightfall champions within seconds, and still maintains incredible ammo economy, it's kinda hard to find a downside. And it gets even crazier when you consider the new artifact perks that increase the damage and damage resistance. And to add just the cherry on top, when you pair Choir of One with Stylus Executioner and gyrfalcons on a hunter, it becomes an absolute powerhouse. They're constantly invisible, shredding adds, and dealing massive single target damage. Running this build on the Void Subclass also means you get access to Devour, which is just the best form of self-healing, no contest. So without further ado, let's get into the build. Starting off with the subclass, this will be on the Void subclass, though we do have a prismatic version a little later in the video, and it's pretty good if you know how to work it just right. But for right now, sticking to this with our super, it is arguably the only super you will ever need on the Void subclass, and that is just the Deadfall Tether. It's great for ad clear, great for boss damage weakening, doesn't have the exact DPS as you would with Mobius Quiver, but I could make every argument under the sun why Deadfall Tether is still just better. For the dodge, you could go either way. I was just doing a boss bake with my friend Kree, and with that, I needed to reload this weapon at least once just instantly, so I had marksman dodge, but gambler's dodge is still a go-to option. For the melee, it's the only melee, so snare bomb. For the grenade, actually, it's supposed to be vortex. I was doing a boss bake, so I used void spike just for that. But vortex grenade. Now moving on to the aspects, of course, we've all seen a gyrfalcons build before, and your 2 go-to options will be vanishing step for the initial get yourself invisible so you can proc the volatile rounds, and then stylus executioner to proceed the invisible spamming, along with volatile round reprocking of its timer. That almost gets your tongue tied just wanting to say that. Now for the fragments, I do want to say that the only one that is important would be the Echo of Starvation. Picking up a Void Breach or an Orb of Power will grant you Devour. Devour does more than what meets the eye, which is health refresh. It also gives you grenade energy upon kills. Now, of course, this is a more minute version of it, for it is not on the Void Warlock with Feed the Void, so it's not its best version of itself, but it is still peak. Next up is Echo of Persistence, which is just increasing Devour's duration. Also invisibility with Stylus Execution if you were just going for a more survivability route, but increased timers on survivability buffs, we always take those. Now for this next one, you absolutely do not need it. It is Echo of Harvest, and it states that by defeating a weakened target, you will be creating an Orb of Power and a Void Breach, and upon picking either of those up, you will be gaining Devour. It's quality of life for me, so I take it, and of course, we need the source of Weaken. Not only does our snare bomb give weaken, but I want my grenade to give weaken with Echo of Undermining. Your void grenades weaken targets. So moving on to the prismatic part, and I'm going to keep this part extremely as brief as I can, honestly, is what I'm going to say. So for the Void subclass, we just go with gyrfalcons, right? But if you were to swap over to prismatic and make sure you have Stylus Executioner on that guy, and maybe like, I don't know, a threaded spike just so you can get your invis going initially to have your volatile rounds for the gyrfalcons. We'll just swap off of that and get my very specific exotic class item right here, which is Foe Tracer and gyrfalcons. Now fellas, if you thought you were melting champs before, you are about to melt them tenfold here, or at least 25% faster. More specifically, with the gyrfalcons, nothing really changes, though the exotic class items are meant to take only one of 2 perks that come from the exotic. The exotic itself, which is the volatile rounds after becoming invisible, is the only perk that we take from this class item. It does a lot like finishers while invisibility, grant bonus damage for all weapons, and they give you an overshield. It does a lot, but we don't use it for that. So the class item is arguably just as potent as the original exotic. Now with the bonus of Spirit of Foe Tracer to apply with the volatile rounds, which is by damaging a powerful combatant or guardian. In this case, it's mainly for champs or bosses. By damaging them with the volatile rounds that counts as an ability, it will give you a 25% damage bonus to the weapon matching that ability's element type. Volatile rounds are void, acquire of 1 is void. We can all see where this is going. The reason I'm not going with this is specifically just because I'm a lazy guy. When it comes to this, it's not as easy as just dodging for invisibility, then start shooting. You have to apply an effect to someone through an ability that you might not always have, but build crafting can fix that for you. But with that in mind, it's not as spammable as then just getting a max mobility marksman dodge out on the field. You have to either apply weaken with a grenade, you have to apply sever with a threaded spike, maybe slow with withering blade, scorch, maybe you dodge near an enemy, you could do that, but then you're subjecting yourself to get into close proximity of enemies when you are not doing a combination blow build. It's completely possible. You can 100% do it. But if you don't have this class item specifically, it's again not really worth your time. So going back to the main build, which is just straight up void with gyrfalcons, this is the route I'm going to choose to go just for this video. But now with all of that said, it is time to get into the artifact. But with this new act, we got an entire row dedicated to the auto rifles and arc weapons too, I guess. Shock and awe is goated, but it's not going to really work for this weapon. Pro tip, have expanding abyss for your grenade weaken. We'll just do increased weaken effect because acquire of 1 is a void weapon. That's just a pro tip for you. Enough said right there. Now we have the targeting auto loader. While getting rapid kills, you will be reloading your weapon and getting a temporary increase to damage. I don't know as of right now as I'm recording the percentage gain you get from this, but the percentage gains should be on screen for you right now because I will just be researching it as I edit this video. After that, you also get sustained fire, which maxes out at 3 times your resist, which of course at the moment, I don't know the exact percentage damage resist, but should be on screen for you right now. I did the research while in the editing phase. Now for us hunters, you have 1 to 2 options if you're using this for Grandmaster Nightfall. If it's overload, anti-barrier, you might just want to pick the overload rifle. But with gyrfalcons, you have the option to make this either an overload weapon or an anti-barrier weapon. Volatile rounds is a intrinsic anti-barrier buff. So if you have antis and you want this to be an anti-barrier weapon, just do a quick dodge, then just start lighting them up with volatile rounds. If there's overloads and maybe you have a commemoration for the antis and there's overloads also in the GM, just strap on the overload auto rifle. Call it a day. Now time for the tedious part, which is the mods. Again, there's like 1-2 mods in here that are like needed. Mods with this new system are kind of mid, you know? I think we're coming to that conclusion. All right, maybe there's 3 mods that are important. You'll see as we go. Copy them here if you want. We're about to get into them. Starting off with the helmet, we have 2 very important mods and 1 a questionable mod if you really care for your teammate or not. 1 is a way to spawn orbs. This is going to be very important later, for I'm just going to state it for you right now. Special ammo finisher. Next up, this weapon, though it has great ammo economy, blasts through ammo as fast as possible. So you definitely want to be stacking special ammo up whenever you can. And then if you care for your teammate, you'll put the scout on too. Don't care for your arms, match your resist. For the GM, your legs, fine, but you also have Devour, which is pretty much all 3 of these stacked into 1. Moving on to the class item, it is Special Ammo Finisher. This weapon goes through ammo like crazy. You want to be constantly stacking special ammo finishers. Distribute it between you and your team, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you are the only one in a fire team of 3 that's producing ammo, you are not going to have enough ammo. When I was running this just as a duo with me and my friend Toity, this man did not have Special Finisher on, and this weapon ran out of ammo ridiculously quick. But the millisecond we got Toity and me on special ammo finishers, 2 people in a 2-man fire team, it was more than enough. Me and him were constantly spamming it, constantly spawning orbs for each other. Ammo was so plentiful that it became such a non-issue. So this just in, work as a team and everything becomes a lot easier. Who would have thought, right? Now for the playstyle, of course, I did mention this earlier, and that was the fact that once you enter a fight, just simply dodge, become invisible, and at that point, start lighting it up with your Choir of 1. Now, as I am editing this video, I actually just saw a tweet saying that everything that's goated about this weapon is actually a bug and not intended at all. It's doing massive damage to bosses and champs, because it's doing more damage than intended. And its ammo economy is great, but goes through it pretty quickly if you don't have special ammo finishers. But unfortunately, the ammo economy is also more than intended. Being 100% with you, Bungie, this is towards you, Bungie. If I could just add my 2 cents, sure, nerf the damage a considerable amount. Don't overdo it, but don't touch its ammo. It needs what it has. It's arguably not even enough. Now, with all that said, whether you're going to consider using this weapon going forward, I'd say take advantage while you can. It's considerably busted at the moment, so go out there and use it. That's all I have for you guys today, so if you have enjoyed this video, please, for me, hit that subscribe and like button to help out this video. I'll appreciate and love you all for it. Now take care and peace.